Hello, everybody. Just a reminder, my name is Joe Palmer, and I am currently the ticket sales manager for Xavier's athletics department. So I'm going to look into kind of the IT services that are provided to me as a staff member at Xavier. But since Xavier is a university, I also kind of look into the academic side, not necessarily just the athletic side. So we'll start with kind of the size of our organization. Again, I'm kind of looking at this from the academic and athletic side. We have nearly 1,000 full-time faculty and staff members. Among that, the athletics department has a little over 100 staff members, and that includes coaches, it includes finance, it includes HR, and then any other administration that might be involved in the operations of an athletics department. Within that faculty and staff, there are over 50 IT-related roles on campus, and that is strictly full-time. So I'll go into this a little bit more later on in the presentation. But there are also some student workers that are hired through our work-study program on Xavier that help with kind of day-to-day issues that arise while students are on campus during the semester. Looking into the size of the student body as well, just so everyone's aware, Xavier has just under 7,000 students, 4,500 of those being undergrad, and a little over 2,000 of those as graduate students. What is the business of your organization? So again, I'm kind of looking into this from two different aspects. From an academic side, Xavier is an academic institution. It's a Jesuit university. It's the 6th oldest Catholic university in the United States. Because it is a Jesuit university, there's a big emphasis in making sure that those who come here develop a mentality that they want to change the world through work and service for the better. There are over 90 undergraduate programs within the universities that are on campus, and those are the arts and sciences, social sciences, health and education, as well as the business school. From an athletic standpoint, our athletics programs compete in the NCAA on a Division I level. They joined the Big East Conference back in 2012-2013. We have 16 intercollegiate sports teams for men and women, and those include anything from golf to basketball, baseball, soccer, and swimming. We're most well known nationally for our men's basketball program, but we have some very, very successful programs other than our men's basketball program, like baseball, golf, soccer, and swimming. So the whole role of the athletics department is really to function and generate revenue for the university. So that revenue that's generated, it does fund any of the things that are working in the university from an academic standpoint, but also a big emphasis is to help raise revenue for our athletic scholarships. So we have a specific department called the All for One Fund, and their role is to help facilitate fundraising initiatives through donations and events that help provide scholarships for our student athletes. So the next thing I'm going to go through is kind of the hierarchy of what our IT department looks like at Xavier. So the best way to look at it is the overarching head of our IT department is our Associate Provost and CIO, which stands for Chief Intelligence Officer, and that is Jeff Edwards. So Jeff kind of oversees the entire IT department as a whole, just making sure that each director that is in position has the correct people underneath them, and that when a job comes that needs to be fixed, the correct person is in charge to fix that issue. So underneath Jeff, you'll find our list of directors. The first one that I'm kind of going to talk about is Mark Brockman. He's the Executive Director of Application Technologies. This includes positions like system administrators, programmers, integration programmer, which is currently open and looking for people to fill that role. DBAs, and a DBA is a database administrator, so they're going to deal with anything like maintenance, backups, querying, tuning, user rights and agreements, and security of organization's database. So that's a really important part. Is there's a lot of information that's within a network for a university, so that security is important. And lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the help desk. The help desk is basically your go-to for any staff members that are on campus. So it's pretty easy. You type in HELP on our phones, and any issue that you're having with your computer or printer or anything like that, the guys at the help desk are the ones to get there. They are kind of my hero for issues that arise on a day-to-day basis with my IT needs. So the next we'll look at, and this is kind of the breakdown of Mark and his staff. So you can see kind of each step that I went through with each role that is underneath Mark's. So the next thing we're going to go into is the infrastructure. Infrastructure is run by the director, Eric Ball, and those have to do with network and phones, as well as desktop and server support. So I actually have often called on Mike Marshall, who you'll see is underneath our desktop infrastructures. Anytime there's any issue with some of our software that we have, or that I'm having issues with maybe our ticketing system, Mike is often my go-to to come in and help me out. The next step we'll be going through is our PMOs, which stand for Project Manager Officers, and that is run by Natalie Panzuk. And she has 3 project managers underneath her. So she's the director. Project managers, they're going to deal with or be in charge of creating, operating, or completing any new IT projects on campus. So if there's some sort of new system that money is raised for and they want to implement on a campus-wide initiative, they're going to be the ones that kind of see it from start to finish. And then if there's any issue with those that get delegated individually to each one of these other departments if there's any things that need to be fixed. The next step will be, or role I should say, is information security, and that's run by Brian Rapich. Brian deals with every incoming employee to help get them up to speed with any cybersecurity that they would need. And same thing goes where if there is a threat, Brian is the one who will help take care of making sure that threat or issue is taken care of. And then lastly, you can see this is a very large web that we have here. It's our library director, Ken Gibson. And Ken, obviously, as you can see, has a lot of people underneath him doing mostly to do with the amount of systems that are used in a library for record keeping and having to look up specific texts or books or any resources that you have in a library. So you've got a lot of people who are skilled in making sure they know how to work that system and find the resources that students and faculty members will need on the school library. So the next thing we're going to look at is whether our IT system at Xavier, in terms of employees here, is centralized or decentralized. Xavier is very much so a decentralized operation, as are most universities. Because of the myriad of problems and projects that are needed on a college campus, it makes a lot more sense to have one overarching person looking over top of a number of different teams that specialize in specific things. I used to work for the Reds, and they were very much so centralized just because it was a smaller team. So they were more of the IT at the Reds. They knew a lot. They knew a little about a lot of things, whereas Xavier is a lot more. Each individual department knows the specifics about a specific problem that is happening. So I think that's really important for Xavier. Is if there is an issue, there's a specific person who is has a skill or master in that issue to get that fixed. How effective is Xavier's IT department? Xavier's IT department has been wonderful since I've started here. Again, I've only been here about a year and haven't had to deal with them too much, which is great. But my onboarding process as an employee was very smooth. When I did have issues, often with our ticket printers, because it is kind of a new tech that only the ticketing department deals with, are those specific printers. They were very quick to address the issue. And as a former undergrad, I had the opportunity to kind of see how the IT department worked from a student perspective. And when they're on campus, that's when you're going to see a lot of those student workers. So any issues that would arise with a projector during a teacher's lesson plan, they would send someone in to come in and take a look at that. And if that student worker couldn't figure it out, they'd work it kind of up the ladder. The only headache that I really have with the IT department is there is procedures that they go through. So often when I make a call to the help desk, they try to fix the issue over the phone. But sometimes that issue is something that even from someone like me who grew up with computers knows that I've already gone through all these steps to try to fix this issue. Sometimes I just want them to come in and take a look at it in person. But I get if they didn't do that with every person, they would be getting called all around campus when a majority of things could be fixed over the phone. One nice thing that the Reds had that I'm hoping Xavier will get to is they have the ability to kind of hack into your computer and drive around yourself to fix it that way rather than having to kind of direct you over the phone. So they can see what's on my screen, but they can't take control of my computer and kind of click things for me. So that was one nice thing that I had when I was with the Reds that maybe they will eventually work towards getting, or maybe already have and just don't use it as much. The last thing I'm going to look at is our Xavier cybersecurity. So Xavier takes cybersecurity very seriously due to the amount of info that's stored on a campus network for universities. So it is mandatory for new employees to take like a 1 to 2 hour cybersecurity course. That just helps you identify basic hacking and email phishing that you might find on a day-to-day basis. Our athletics department specifically uses a Pulse Secure system for all credit card transactions. So basically, whenever we process a credit card payment from a donor or season ticket holder, it puts it in a secure way into our system so that we can't get it hacked and someone could potentially take their payment information or any of their personal information and use it for problem things. All right, so the last question would be, do I have a future in information technology? I would say that I certainly see the benefits of understanding IT because it is used on a daily basis, whether you are in IT or not. I don't see myself specifically going into IT just because my career path, my goal is to become an athletic director for a Division I university. Although I do understand that if I am going to work in the athletic director role, I'm kind of going to be like the CEO of an athletics department. So I'm going to have to understand what IT needs, my department as an athletic department needs, and if there are any issues that arise, it's better for me to understand what the problem is and how it could be fixed and who to find for the right person to fix that. So I do understand that there is an emphasis or there's an importance in understanding IT, but I do not see myself personally going into an IT position. But you never know. So that is kind of Xavier in a nutshell in terms of how IT has a presence in my current role. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. If you have any issues on campus with any of your technology needs, you can go to the CLC, Wisconsin Learning Commons, and there are great people over there that can help you with whatever you need. Thanks.